So basically, right, there's a bloke and there's a bird. Yes, Miyazaki, once again, you have blown me away, surpassed my expectations. Right, so, hear me out. I, for one, am still very annoyed that you have this beautiful book, How Do You Live? It is introspective, it is amazing in how it captures the world through the eyes of a maturing child. And Hayao Miyazaki looks at it and goes, hey guys, do you know what this book needs? Are you ready? Because I'm about to blow your minds with this one. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
It's hideous! What have you done, Miyazaki? What have you done? Run! Run while you still can!
Oh, please, no more. No more. I have to do it. I have to take refuge in the dub. Maybe the dub is a safer place for me to be.
What exactly are you?
Robert, what have they done to my boy?
How did Robert do that voice, man? I'm gonna try to replicate this. Okay, let's just be honest now. It's great. It's really good. Also, there's no massive spoilers in this video. Okay, you're fine. The Bloke and the Bird. Wait. The Boy and the Heron is as though a hermit crab had manifested itself into a film. They have an unassuming look about them, not much initial attention. Maybe they don't want to show off in the traditional standards. Maybe they want you to discover them. And suddenly you get close and bam, you got a crab. Or in this case, another Miyazaki special. My analogies are so tapped. So how did the final product pan out for me? Because I talked about this story quite a lot. After seeing the trailer for this film, I think most people got the idea that Miyazaki was going to utilize fantastical elements to develop upon a work which, of course, inspired him as a child. After watching the film, it turned out to be just that and a lot more.
Good evening. Miyazaki-san's new movies.
This was a spectacular journey, which got so wild at points that it really reminded me of Satoshi Kon's work. All directors and storytellers have their own unique voice. It's what we traditionally call in the film industry authorship. When I think of Hayao Miyazaki and the works of Studio Ghibli, a flash of beautiful imagery crosses my mind. The Boy and the Heron fits perfectly into this exact package which we have become so familiar with. When it comes to making a Miyazaki piece so timeless, it's not just about the visuals, it's about the feelings and the atmosphere which brings you in and encapsulates the message and the thematic elements of the story. So how did Miyazaki take influence from the original novel? Well, this story starts off with a bang. It is based during World War II, and our protagonist, Mahito, is severely affected by a particular event. Essentially, we get the groundwork and entire emotional arc of our protagonist from the get-go. Sometimes things take a little bit of time to warm up and make people curious. This sort of sends you right in and then decides to turn your expectations. This obviously differs massively from the original novel How Do You Live, because this is far more introspective and observational and gives you all of the information in journal entries. This style of storytelling transferred over to cinema is quite difficult to do in terms of engagement, so it was very much a creative choice on Miyazaki's part. It did make me wonder how the film would have been interpreted through the eyes of a different director. Say the late Isao Takahata, who might have opted for a narrative style similar to Only Yesterday, which was a lot more slower paced and observational, similar to this. The vibe of this film, at least the beginning, is very reminiscent of Grave of the Fireflies, which is a great thing. This could easily be interpreted as a homage to the late Takahata's work, but more so could be a nod to Miyazaki's childhood, because this story comes from a very personal place. It's why he resonated with How Do You Live so much, because he was a boy who grew up in rural Japan during World War II. The story literally blooms into a new world after we are established to the characters and the emotional mindset of Mahito. And to me, this point in the film is the most accurate depiction of How Do You Live, because you're getting a deeper insight into the emotional range of our characters and their maturity and how they perceive life as they know it. And I know a lot of people probably thought this part of the film dragged a little bit too much. That's a fair point. The biggest complaint about this film is that there is way too much going on, and I do somewhat agree with this. With storytelling, you need a balance of thematic undertones and messages, and there can be too much, to the point where it looks like the director has fallen into their own mind. This is exactly why I wasn't a fan of Tenet. It's still a solid film and a technical marvel, but it's just too much for me, and this leads to general audiences getting a bit confused, and of course hardcore film fans who just say, "You are just not smart enough to understand it." To me, it's not as tight as films such as Spirited Away, and it does require a decent amount of thought, which is a good thing to a certain degree. I found the story teetered on the edge of confusion, but only just teetered, okay? Which can be easily rectified on a rewatch, albeit to many people, if you need to watch a film twice to fully get it, then this can be a straight up deal breaker and a potential testament to poor writing. To me, this isn't poor writing in the slightest. Now, could it have been polished a little bit? Sure. It could have, but not by much. I wouldn't want Ghibli to go down the on-the-nose wish route. I kind of like that Miyazaki doesn't hand things out on a silver platter. He never really has done. The uncle in the book is a wise guide to our protagonist, Copper. And though the uncle's character is like an entirely different entity in the film, he still carries over this observational, caring persona. His purpose remains the same in the story, and the most beautiful part about the uncle's character in The Boy and the Heron is that he was directly inspired by Isao Takahata, or at least that's who Miyazaki was reminded of when he was writing about him. Takahata was clearly a huge part of Miyazaki's life, not just his professional career, but as a friend. I just really like that he wrote Isao into the story because he is an absolute legend. So what do you need to bring such a wide array of characters to life? Well, you need some good talent. G-Kids, they deserve a round of applause because the cast for The Boy and the Heron, outrageous. You got Robert Pattinson. Again, I don't know how he did that voice. His throat is probably destroyed. You got your boy Mark Hamill, you got Willem Dafoe, you got Gemma Chan, Florence Pugh, Dave Bautista. Mate, the rise of Dave Bautista in the acting scene is like unreal. And of course, American Psycho returns, Christian Bale. I mean, he was Howl in Howl's Moving Castle, okay? He just came back because Miyazaki was like, yeah, you're good. And of course Luca, you know, he did amazing. I know it is probably thanks to a ridiculously huge budget, but I'm so happy that Ghibli films get the respect that they do deserve from all corners. Now, how did the animation hold up? Well, I don't think the trailer did it completely justice, and I was still blown away by the trailer. You know, with Studio Ghibli films, you can actually see the blood, sweat, and tears that went into making it. I mean, it took like 4 years to make Mononoke, 4 to make Spirited Away, I think 4 to 5 to make most things they do, some are less, some are more. Including the pre-production, they worked on The Boy and the Heron for 7 years. And it shows. Beautiful isn't enough to describe how good this film looks. It's the standard of the studio, alongside having, of course, meaningful stories. This is something that a lot more studios should absolutely take inspiration from. There were some points in The Boy and the Heron where I was like, they should genuinely not have been able to do this, and they just did it because of how talented they are. They merged the original thematic undertones displayed in the story with cinema, and by the end you can see how Mahito has accepted suffering as part of life, how living through dark times is necessary. Traditional Buddhist philosophies and Shintoist philosophies, they spring up a lot in Ghibli films for good reason. It always leaves me satisfied with the ending, whether it's joyous, sad, or bittersweet. There are countless ways to interpret these stories. The Boy and the Heron works not only as an amalgamation of Hayao Miyazaki's life story, but with all of its fantastical elements and amazingly written characters, it really does help answer the question both to young and old audiences in regards to how do you live. If I was an animator for this film and I saw what I needed to achieve, I would have probably imploded. From the cute character designs to the not so cute characters, each of them are as fantastical and as brilliant as the next. It's like if The Wizard of Oz was a frame-by-frame painting and, you know, didn't use asbestos as a replacement for snow.